In so-called official documents, it's said that Death wields a scythe and rides a pale horse, which, with the advent of Darksiders II, we now know to be nonsense. Death carries around all sorts of weapons, and his horse isn't pale at all. In fact, his horse is always on fire. Those weapons make Death the hack-and-slash hero he is. But which are the best? We count down the top 5. At number 5, we have the Mace, one of Death's heavy weapons, which is so big as to not make sense. The Mace sets the tone for the game pretty early on, as Death pulls out a weapon roughly as big as he is and proceeds to start mashing up baddies with reckless abandon. Aside from the fact that it's the size of a fridge and clearly weighs more than the average family car, the Mace offers some serious damage output at the expense of speed. But when you're Death, you can afford to take your time, surely. Defense isn't the most important thing for Death to consider, but if he absolutely has to block, he uses a buckler, which is in at number 4. It not only allows him to make lightning-fast attacks, but also offers a nifty defensive stance. Hold down the attack button during combat, and Death absorbs damage like a trifle absorbs brandy. Release, and he punches it all back to whichever enemy hit him in the first place with a powerful shockwave attack. Even though the defensive stance doesn't really work in a game where you can just roll out of trouble by tapping a button, it's certainly a nice idea. Redemption has such a cool name that it had to come at number 3. It's a revolver handed down to Death by his brother and fellow horseman of the apocalypse, Scythe. With it, Death can attack at range, and it's used in a lot of the puzzles early on in the game to trigger explosives from across rooms. Unfortunately, Redemption doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but that makes sense as the game encourages dynamic and exciting melee combat. It's no fun to just sit back and fire auto-aim shots into your enemies all day after all. But let's not forget how cool this thing is. With this in hand, the only way you could make Death any cooler would be to stick him on a motorcycle and give him a cigar. Glaives take the best parts of an axe, a spear, and a barge pole and combine them together in one murderous cocktail, which is why they're our number 2. Whilst an axe blade and the long shaft of the weapon allow for big swinging attacks on groups, the pointy bit on the end, that's the technical term folks, means you can jam it into stuff you don't like with remarkable efficiency. By holding down the attack button, Death charges off into the fight and spears whatever unlucky creature he meets with 4 feet of hell-crafted steel, which solves pretty much any problem you can imagine.
You must destroy it!
Of course, we all know about Death's old-fashioned scythe that he uses to chop down humans like so much wheat, but that's nothing on his updated model, which is his best weapon in our humble opinion. Not just 1 but 2 scythes that stick together somehow. These bad boys can be dual-wielded for ferocious up-close attacks, lashed together into a double-handed polearm to give Death some extra reach, or chucked about like razor-sharp boomerangs to slay people standing about 6 to 8 feet in front of him. Plus, the option to upgrade your moveset by purchasing new abilities from trainers scattered throughout the world means the scythe combat can be as simple or as complex as you want it to be. So there you have it. The original really is the best, and even in the face of giant hammers and magic handguns, scythes hold strong. Maybe there's just something iconic about them that keeps us coming back for more, even if they need a bit of a redesign to keep with the times.